take this to, if you'll forgive the expression, I don't like this expression normally, but just take the learning from today to another level and really share with you in more depth how you can really embrace some of this stuff and make it happen in your practice. I then want to share with you what I consider to be the worst mistakes that accountants make in positioning. And there are just two things there, and maybe neither you can relate to, or maybe both of them, certainly one or the other. We'll then do a Q&A. And then I will share with you which that little image there was meant to represent. Share with you an extra little thing that you can do to get your hands on a comprehensive report, which is going to give you some strategies, some actions that you can take to improve your practice as well. Okay, just a couple of admin things, and I might as well just take away the screen share for now if I can get my mouse over there. Oh, never mind, it's not playing ball, doesn't matter. Right, admin things. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, but not everybody joins at that point, please just use the chat box for any questions. There is a little symbol to wave and raise your hand and things like that, but I don't always spot those. I do see a new question come into the chat box. Bear with me for 1 second because I've left my office door open and there's some background voice. Just close that. It will probably benefit all of the people listening if you change the drop-down box beside the to all, to everybody, rather than the default, which is usually just a panelist. So you can change it to all panelists and attendees, and that way everybody can see what everybody's typing as well. The default is usually all panelists. Just to get going, and lots of people have already interacted, but please put, just so that again, I can make sure that everybody can hear me, and that people aren't just having this in the, on full background noise. I would just love for you to type in your name and your position, your role within the business, so your job title, if you like. Again, that's going to tell me that you are actively listening to me, and you can use the chat box. Thanks, Andrew. Chris, Keith, thank you. Kim, Peter. Oh, wow, it's going really fast now, so I can't read them all out. But yeah, okay, that's brilliant. Lots of people listening and attending. Okay, thank you. There's yeah, so quite a few of you haven't changed it to all panelists and attendees yet. Well, it's not a problem. I don't mind that, but it's great that other people can see some of the responses that go in there. Okay. Hi, Amar. Right. Okie dokie. Let me begin. In fact, let me just confirm that I didn't miss anything on that one. No, that's fine. Oh, one final thing is I just want to say that, in fact, I don't know if it is set. It should be recording this webinar. I'm just going to minimize my screen for a moment just to make sure that that is definitely the case. It is recording, yes. So I'm recording it. Lots of people say, I can't make this, could you record it? Or maybe some people have to drop out for whatever reason. Is there a recording? The reality, yes, we always record it. Yes, we'll always put it up and send out links. The reality is I always look on YouTube. The views are usually negligible. It's very rare that anybody goes back and watches a recording, because when it's a recording, it's there. It's, yeah, I can do that later. I can do that tomorrow. And the reality is it never happens. You're in now. Make the most of it and stay in for the entire duration. I don't want to hold you up for more than an hour in this, and so hopefully, you will have allocated that period of time. I've deliberately done this in lunchtime as well, so that hopefully you'll be okay with that. Right, I wanted to share with you some of the challenges that I see many accountants facing in their practice right now, and the reasons behind them. So first of all, many accountants tell me, I've become a slave to my clients. They expect me to do everything for them at the drop of a hat. They'll phone me up at the last minute, say, I need this doing right now, and they don't care what you might be in the middle of doing. They demand rock bottom fees. The expect extra work was included in that fee that you told them at the beginning of the year that it would probably be, or that it would definitely be, but anything that they phone up and ask for in the meantime, they just expect you to cover it, don't they? They hold you to ransom and say, well, if you can't do it, then the accountants up the road can. Maybe I'll just move to them, shall I, and just blackmail you into dropping everything for them. They're unreceptive, or they're reluctant to pay for business growth advisory advice that you can give them based on your experience and your knowledge of working with lots of businesses, but they don't always appreciate that, and they don't want to pay for it. They don't appreciate or respect you as much as they should do. And what that leaves the accountants in practice feeling is very, they're not enjoying what they're doing. They're not getting great sense of fulfillment, and they're not making a profit either. If you can relate to one or more of those things in there, please put a yes in the chat box. In fact, if you can't relate to any of them, stick a no in there, just so that, that I am getting full interaction. So lots of yeses. Okay, so you've come to the right place. 2 yeses and an asterisk. Okay, so quite a few yeses. Einstein is obviously famous for saying insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So the results that we're getting today are the results of the decisions in our personal life, in our business life, that we made yesterday. And in order to make a change, we have to do something different to get a different outcome, don't we? Here, I share this in a little bit more detail later on, but here are AVN's values. They own it, they're inspiring wows, they're fun with a serious intent, keep evolving and make lives better. The one I particularly want to draw your attention to right now is the one entitled Keep Evolving. Now it looks like my little highlight hasn't come on. Here we go. Keep evolving. And these values are both internal, so the people I will recruit as employees, but also the members that we look to work with. Keep evolving is a really important one for you. They're all important, to be fair, but keep evolving means I'm a great fan of attending webinars like this, reading books, going to courses, maybe watching YouTube videos where we're learning something. Learning is a fantastic thing to do. It creates new connections, new synapses in our brains, which means we make much more connections in there to stuff that we already know as well, and that enables us to come up with many more ideas. But notice that the image, there are 3 aspects there. I've mentioned the reading. They point to that little AVN light bulb, which in itself represents ideas, but also there's that comfort zone thing there as well. And what I mean by that is that I want people to step out of that comfort zone and do something with what they know. It's all right learning stuff, but ultimately we need to be taking action with it. So my question to you in this session is, have you loaded this up at lunchtime just to have a bit of background noise and passively listen to it whilst checking your emails, or have you tuned into this because you're going to take some form of action following it to make life better for yourself? So just in the chat box, give me a passive or an active. Okay, brilliant. That's fantastic. So I can see that people are amazing. Yeah, they're going up so fast that I can't keep up. That's spot on. Okay, what I'd like to do next then is just inspire you with some possibilities, some examples that actually life doesn't have to be like that set of descriptions I've just fed out. A few weeks ago, in fact, we're running the equivalent of this right now, because downstairs in our office, we're on day 2 of our 3-day masterclass. The last masterclass we ran, we asked people to write down where they're at in their practice right now. What were the key challenges? And we go into this in a lot more detail than what I'm going to share with you. But I just want to just reel off just some of the things that people wrote down here. So we can see there Stephen Pitchford working with a high number of low-yielding clients. So high time consumption, firefighting long hours, lack of direction there. We've got there's never enough time, had to take work home, clients constantly calling for updates, etc. Practice not generating profits. That's just a handful of the ones that we got. And one of the things that we get people to do now in that masterclass, at the end of it, when we have active at last, I love that. when we finish the masterclass, in fact, during it, we get them to, every idea we give them, we get them to quantify it in some way, whether that's quantifying it on how much extra income they think they'll generate by implementing that idea, how much time they think they'll save by implementing that idea, and what emotional impact will it have? Because for me, that's the most important one. It's not necessarily, earning more money doesn't make you happier. Freeing up your time will certainly help with that if you're in a better position to do other stuff, won't it? So what's the emotional impact? Spending more time with your family being one of them. So I'll just very quickly just show you some of the impacts that people felt that they come away with. He starts fairly zoomed in on this one. Financial impact there, 439,000. Life impact, holiday with family, clear the mortgage. But you'll see that quite a few people have put very different things: more time at the church, etc. Feeling outstanding, be able to help the family more, feeling ecstatic, time with kids, time with family. Those are the types of things that people come away at the end of that masterclass feeling. But I'm sure you'll agree with me that it's fair to say, being on a course, feeling a little bit enthusiastic, feel I could take over the world. The line from Only Fools and Horses, this time next year, Rodders will be millionaires. So what is the reality? So 6 weeks later, we checked in with these people just to find out, okay, where are you at so far in that journey? And these are the comments that they were coming out with. So Stephen here, feeling much more in control. We're not expecting people to be millionaires 6 weeks later by any stretch, but have they seen some progress? So feeling much more in control. AVN's provided the platform to discuss with others in that particular case, giving us more confidence, feeling more energized, managing my workload. I can't read them all off, obviously. Somebody else, more confidence, 10,000 extra per month. In fact, Brian's online now, actually. I noticed your name come up. So they're just a flavour of some of the things that we get back from people in terms of the results that they start getting following the masterclass. Now, I'm telling you that just to inspire you by way of saying that there is a better way. Life doesn't have to be like that. Okay, so in this session, we are looking at positioning specifically. Positioning is one element of our roadmap. So we have a 7-stage roadmap that we take accountants through. And that starts from the bottom, really, getting clarity. Clarity about their pricing, their marketing, clarity on where they want to take their practice in the next 2, 3, 5 years, whatever it might be. Getting that stuff clear, because once you're clear on those and you start with the end in mind, you've got this kind of clarity, if you'll forgive the overuse of the word, then actually your antennas raise. You can start thinking about ways that you can progress your practice towards that rather than just endlessly going around in circles. Positioning is the next one. Better positioning yourself makes clients much more appreciate and respect you, and they'll be much more receptive to some of the added value work that you can offer, which brings us into value, looking at the different types of value that you can deliver to clients, packaging some of your products more. Gearing then is about really scaling up your business and taking it to, again, maybe changing gear and going faster but with less effort. Automation is about systemizing and tapping into technology. Profile, raising your profile of your business, your practice, so that people are seeking you out, and then purposefully making a profound difference to clients. Some of the people who've been with us on this journey, Shaz now has, he's now got a practice that runs by itself. He's not part of that anymore. Marie, again, you can read that. She's made some profound differences. In fact, if you saw some of the bullets that came up before, she says, she's now earning a decent salary, whereas before she couldn't even pay herself. Michael Hem, he's grown his practice significantly whilst he's been with us. Fiona and Phil. And they're just some examples of some of the great results that we've seen people take. Okay, so focus on right now. I'm going to introduce myself very briefly, a little bit about AVN, and then we'll get to the crux of this presentation. I want you to take notes. I will give you some actions to take away from this as well, but obviously taking notes, taking action is going to help you make a difference to your practice. A little bit about me. I'm passionate about the word choice and what that represents. And on three levels, really. Choice about people's ability to make choice in the first place. So those of you who know me, I've got a story that I tell about why I'm passionate about helping a charity called Head First that helps people who have had severe brain injuries recover from those brain injuries and hopefully enable their brain to be able to make better lifestyle choices for them. Lifestyle choices for people in business, and accountants are obviously no exception to that, who feel that they have no choice but to keep working endless amount of hours, barely generating income. They feel that have no choice to that. We help them make better lifestyle choices by improving their businesses. And on the other level, we help people around the world through our connections with B1G1 and our charitable contributions to that. So we're helping people improve their living conditions, if you like, the choices about their living standards. So this photo really represents a couple of my lifestyle choices that I'm passionate about are spending time with my family and exploring the world. And this is just one example of where I've combined that. That's my mum and dad, my kids and my wife, and we're obviously on the Great Wall of China there, exploring one part of the world, and we're all going to India next year to explore part of that. And that is just, again, that's just me combining some of my preferred lifestyle choices, making sure that those things happen. I've authored and co-authored a number of books. The What's Next for Accountants book there, oh, sorry, I've pressed next. The What's Next for Accountants book there became an Amazon #1 bestseller in the UK last year. It stayed there for 3.5 weeks. And I think the reason for that is because it's so pertinent. You know, it's bang on message, and the feedback I've had from so many people just say, yeah, it is so relevant right now. Let me know in the chat box if you don't have a physical, tangible copy of that book, and I will happily send you one out in the post. So just write book in the chat box now if you would like a copy of that book, sending out to you. Okay, Chris, yeah, oh, okay, can't keep up with the names now, but quite a few of you have typed book in there. Yeah, what we'll do at the end of this, we'll ping you an email out just to say, can you give us your address if we don't have it on file, and we will put that in the post today for you. Spot on. Hi, Rennie. Nice to see you. Not seen you for a while. Okay, spot on. I will get those out in the post to you. The other book I just wanted to draw your attention to in this particular session is the latest one, The Better Business, Better Life, Better World. I was very privileged to be invited to co-author that with a number of entrepreneurs, business leaders from around the world. So mine forms one chapter amongst others. You can see other people's names on there. People I'm very privileged to, as I say, be noted alongside of as well. And this book really is, each person was invited to give a message on 3 levels: better business, better life, better world, to the message that they would give to their grandchildren. And so all of these different people that feature in that book have shared their wisdom, if you like, from having their own business, for getting that business right, ticking all the boxes that's given them a better lifestyle themselves, how they've impacted on the world. They're sharing their unique experience in terms of that as well. Now, I can't give you a free copy of that because we've agreed that that will only be sold, and every single sale goes straight to helping a child in a developing country get better educated, or providing a house for a family, or providing water. Those different types of impacts are all done from that. So to get a copy of that, just search for that title in Amazon. You can download the Kindle version, or you can get a copy. Now that says coming soon. That's an out-of-date picture. I didn't realise. That little badge there that says coming soon has been replaced by international bestseller, because that's reached that status now, and it was released approximately a month ago now, and it rocketed to #1 globally. So again, very privileged to be part of that as well. Okay, so very, very briefly now on who are AVM. We are AVM. We stand for Inspiring Accountants, and inspiring accountants to become inspiring accountants to their clients, more so than maybe they are right now. And I'll share some data on what I mean by that very shortly. We work with accountants only, and we help accountants to build a business that is, let me just skip on a couple of these. We work with accountants to build a business that is much more profitable, sustainable, and enjoyable for them to run. First and foremost, that's what we do there. So overcoming all of those challenges that I mentioned at the beginning. Every single one of those accountants, of course, has clients who are in business. And so as a secondary, what we do is we teach accountants to better help those business owners to achieve exactly the same outcomes themselves, to be much more enjoyable, successful, profitable in business themselves. And of course, that's a paid for service for the accountant. So everybody's benefiting there. Behind the businesses of those accountants, behind the business of those clients, are families. And so helping all of those businesses, but the business owners, free up some of their time and take a better salary from that business means that the families behind all of those people are much better as well. The kids are getting more time with their parents. People are spending more time with their spouses, their families, their kids, their parents, whatever. So we're impacting lots of people. And through all of those activities, we inspire the people that we work with to align themselves with the global goals. And our preferred channel is B1G1. We're impacting globally around the world. So final say on who AVN are. We're a coaching and training organisation for accountants. We are a UK-wide community for accountants. We take people through that 7-stage roadmap that I mentioned, and so that's supported by a process called REACH. We've helped to date over 2,500. In fact, that probably needs to go by now. I've used that 2,500 quite some time. I should count that. Through those accountants, over 350,000 businesses have been improved. And this is also an out-of-date number. We've helped almost 9 million lives throughout the world in some way, whether it's getting them water for a day, education for a month, or housing, right across those different scales. And this is a community of accountants that have made those impacts. We're celebrating 20 years this year. Now, you could think, 20 years, maybe they're a little bit out of date now. Are they dinosaurs? And that would be a fair question to ask. But obviously, during that time, we are continually researching what are the best practices, what's the best technologies to adapt, what's the best strategies to implement into an accounting practice to grow it, what are the best strategies that you can deliver to your clients to help them grow their businesses. So we are current, but ultimately we've got 20 years each, for many of us as well, experience in helping accountants, but also helping business owners in general. Very quickly, I just want to share some of the threats facing the profession right now, because we all need to change in some way. And the way that you are seen as a profession is going to be greatly affected by this. So in order for you to differentiate, you need to be aware of this and accommodate it in your message to business owners. One of them is technology. I'm not going to give you all of the ins and outs on what's happening. We know that artificial intelligence is getting better and better and better. It's being built into those bolt-on little tools that you have. More and more that's increasing the speed. So take bank reconciliation, for example. You know, that used to be quite an intensive manual job. That automation came out. It used to help, but it hindered in some ways as well. Now it's pretty much a click of a button. Forecasting, various other aspects of this are just being automated more and more. All of these bolt-on providers are striving towards creating a one-click compliance solution, and with the ultimate aim really of cutting out the middleman, which is the accountant, and going straight to business owners and saying a lot of this stuff you can just click a button for now. Whether that's the reality or not, business owners are having that assumption that actually my accountant can just click a button and make this stuff happen. So therefore, they're challenging accountants on the fees that they charge. This pyramid represents the 4 main areas that an accountant will offer services in. So compliance speaks for itself. The thing with compliance is because it's seen as a commodity, it's a legal requirement. You know, I always use the analogy that compliance really, year-end accounts, tax returns, those types of things, because they're a legal requirement. I compare this with the legal requirements of having the MOT done on my car. I have to get it done. I don't want to pay much for it. I don't particularly value it. Yes, it ensures that my car is safe for me to drive, but I see it as a bit of a hindrance. And so, you know, if one garage is charging £45 and one garage is charging £25, £25 is the one I'm going to pay for. It's just a commodity. So to make compliance pay, you have to work with a large volume of clients because you can't charge that much for it. And there's only so far you can go with adding value and value pricing to compliance accounts before people just think, actually, you kind of reach a limit. And what's happening more and more now is that this artificial intelligence is just chipping away at some of those services. So, for example, you probably used to spend a lot of time producing cash flow forecasts for a client. A lot of that is done very, very quickly now. There might still be a few tweaks to make, but a lot of that is done very quickly. So a service that you might have offered maybe in business services, I've not explained that one, but that's things like management accounts, cash flow forecasts, things like that, really, they're being steadily chipped away at. As yet, business advisory is still something that is very much a human-to-human element. To make that pay, you can charge a premium for that if you position it right and if you promote it right. You can charge a premium for business advisory. People get great results. You don't need to work with that many clients. And on the top there, you've got wealth strategies. That's exit strategies, mergers and acquisitions, pensions, those types of things. You can charge a premium for that. You don't have to work with that many, but usually, unless you specialize in that, they're far and few between, aren't they? So I just wanted to paint this picture that really the core services that you do, whether the reality is there or not, people perceive it as being a one-click solution that you do now. So therefore, how are you charging those fees? And the reality is, in the not too distant future, that's going to happen. So that's one threat, technology. The other one, of course, is this feeling of being undervalued. I mentioned that people don't value accounts. You know, they see it as very much an MOT. The flaws in accounts really are it's out-of-date information that they get. It doesn't show them the strengths and weaknesses. They can't really make decisions based on that data because it's history, for a start. It doesn't give them enough to make decisions going forward. So ultimately, it's not valued. The final one there stands for, the HIS syndrome stands for head in sand syndrome. And sadly, there are a large amount of, accountants in the UK, but business owners in the UK who are seeing the environment around them changing, but they're not doing anything about it. And the downside to that is, I usually use the frog analogy. You drop a frog into a pan of boiling water and they're going to try and get out as quick as they can because it's an instant hostile environment. But you have a frog that's in a pan of cold water and you gradually heat it. It doesn't recognize that the environment is gradually changing around it, becoming more and more hostile until it's too late. In the case of the frog, it probably boils alive. And that's happening to a lot of people out there. They're not changing their core product, their core offering, their positioning in the marketplace to accommodate the changing environment, which means that sooner or later they're going to go out of business. So positioning, I've just mentioned these challenges and I've asked if you can relate to that. Part of the reason behind this is lack of really positioning yourself in the marketplace as being very different from the accountant up the road, the cheap accountant up the road. You're seen as just an accountant. And there is this stereotype, isn't there, of what an accountant is for a lot of business owners out there. A few years ago, 2009, a survey was carried out with businesses, asking them just to say 3 words that best describe their accountant. The 2009 survey showed these top 4 most mentioned words. So introverted, systematic, antisocial, and boring. And that, for many people, is that stereotype description of an accountant. I performed my own survey back in 2017. I'm privileged to be part of many closed Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups of business owners, entrepreneurs throughout the world. I'm in a number of these. Those entrepreneurs range from micro businesses right through to multi-million-pound businesses. There are business leaders and managers as well as the owners in those groups. So ask them exactly the same question: what 3 words would best describe your accountant? And the 4 most uttered words that I got back were efficient, supportive, distant, and uninspiring. So they're better than that before, but they're not great, are they? Now, don't get me wrong, some people did say inspiring. Some people did say words that were more positive, but not to the frequency that these 4 were uttered. So I think the perceptions are changing, but they need to change much more. one of the first places that people will look at when they've been referred maybe to you, or they've heard of you in some way, maybe you've spoken at a BNI event, maybe they've been on the receiving end of some kind of, I don't know, leaflet through the door, they've Googled you or whatever, the first place they're going to go at is look at your website. So that is kind of a very much a first impression of you, isn't it? Now, I don't know if Patrick McLaughlin is on. If you are, Patrick, just give us a note in the chat box. I did spot that Patrick was registered to attend. Now, Patrick and I, Patrick delivers a telesales type service to accountants in the UK. And he and I meet up on a regular basis. We compare notes. We chew the fat, if you like, chew the gristle over certain things. And a conversation we had recently was over websites of accountants. And a challenge there is that a lot of websites, hi Patrick, a lot of websites that we see are either your bog standard templates that I won't name providers, but certain providers will offer to an accountant, and you just type in your accountancy practice name in there and a few other bits and bobs, but ultimately it's a standard template that you used. So this is my mock-up version of it, just taking some of the most common things out there. So they'll say the practice name, they might say when they're established, they might say a few things like that. And really, there are common words that are used. So things like, we're accountants and business advisors. We are not like other accountants. We're different. We're proactive. We're forward-thinking accountants. And then they all go on to say, you know, our services include compliance, bookkeeping, payroll, those types of words. And what I tend to see is, in fact, recently when I mentioned this, somebody piped up and says, actually, no, mine is very different from that. And when I looked at it, no, it wasn't. It said exactly the same thing. The colours might have been different, the pictures might have been different, but ultimately they say the same thing. So just by way of demonstrating that, it doesn't matter about the pictures and the colours, it's what you're telling, what message you're giving to the people reading this stuff. So there are lots of flaws in having a website like that. First of all, if you look at your website and see what it's saying, and then look at other accountants in your area or further away and see what they're saying, what are the commonalities there? If you are all saying the same, you are not differentiating your practice from those others, are you? So the old expression, if you continue to do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got, or worse, it stands firm here, doesn't it? Firms that do things differently get radically different results. I'm sure that many of you will have heard of Aristotle. Aristotle, amongst many things, it has this, I can't remember the name of the triangle now, but I think it's a communication triangle. And what he basically says is that we need to communicate in 3 different ways when we communicate. And that can be verbally, it can be in our letters, emails. He didn't mention emails as it happens. It can be on our website, but ultimately we need to communicate on these 3 levels. And those 3 levels are ethos, logos, and pathos. So what do they mean? Well, ethos really is, it stands for ethical, really. I think it's Latin for ethical. And that means establishing some form of credibility. Are you trustworthy? Do you have a good reputation? And of course, it talks about the tone and the style that you come across at. So taking those websites, yes, you're an accountant. Is that credible? Well, in itself, sadly, anybody can call themselves an accountant. I was talking to one of the guys downstairs at our masterclass yesterday, and he was saying, you know, a mechanic can retire from being a mechanic and call himself an accountant. Whether he's going to do a very good job is a different matter, but the word accountant isn't a protected word. So establishing additional credibility on that is important. Trustworthiness can be established by having things like testimonials on your website. Getting awards and showing those on your website and in your communication is going to establish that additional credibility. But they're not often present. Logos is the logic side of it. This is obviously, accountants are great at logic, reasoning, putting argument across facts and figures. So I've mentioned testimonials there as well. Quite often, though, those two elements are present on accountants' websites. Pathos is the one that is often most neglected. Pathos, really, this is kind of the pathological side of it. This is the emotion, okay? And the emotion doesn't always come across on websites. So what do we mean by the emotional impact? What's your purpose? Why are you in business? What are you striving to achieve for the businesses that you work with? Do you have a greater purpose than producing year-end accounts for your clients? And I'll share with you some examples of where accountants have really brought their own personality into here. Why they're different. What it's all right saying on your website, we're different. Why are you different? How are you different? What is it that you're striving towards? Simon Sinek, if you've heard of Simon Sinek, Start With Why, he says that basically people buy why you do what you do, not what you do. So there's that emotional connection that you need to establish. So, for example, I shared with you that I'm passionate about the word choice and helping people establish choice on those 3 different levels. That's what I'm passionate about. This is why I do what I do. So what's your vision? What's your dream? Share that stuff with people because they will be inspired by it if they buy into that. And guess what? If they're not inspired by it, they're not right for you. It's as simple as that. Putting case studies on there, but not just saying we put X amount of tax or save somebody lots of tax, but actually tell a story for where you may have changed somebody's life by working much more closely with them. What impact has even if it is saving them more tax, what has that enabled them to do with their lives going forward? Maybe that element of tax has enabled them to invest more into their business, maybe recruit somebody else, which has saved some of their time, which means they can spend more time with their family. It's that bigger picture, isn't it? What emotional impact has that had? There's a different way of looking at this. This came from Aristotle. More recently, and I think it was really taken from this idea, this is called the triune brain, and you can see a little link there to Wikipedia that tells you a little bit more, but if you type in triune brain, you'll learn more about it. This is basically saying your brain is sectioned in 3 areas, and as from being born, the first part of our brain that's really functional is that reptile part of the brain. So that deals with basic survival. One of the tests, if you've got children, that the doctor will do when your baby's born is that they will sit it upright and let it fall backwards, and the hands will come up. You know, that's a protective, instinctive thing, isn't it, that they're naturally born with. But that reptile brain looks after us in many ways. It gives us that instinct of whether something's a safe environment or not. Should we run or should we stay and fight? Those types of things, they all come from our reptile part of the brain. So that's the equivalent of that ethos. The reptile part of our brain wants to know, can we trust who we're seeing here? Is there credibility here? The mammal side of the brain, sometimes called the monkey brain, deals with emotions. That's an incredibly powerful part of our brain as well. So the reptile part of the brain will tell us whether we should run and stay clear. If that feels, so that's the most powerful part of it. The next part is the emotion. Does it like what it's seeing here? The emotional part of the brain is, as it says on there, it seeks pleasure and it avoids pain. The mammal part of the brain wants an easy life. So if you can tap into that mammal part of the brain and explain to it, if you like, how what you do is going to make their life easier, then that's going to appeal to that emotional part of the brain. Because we make most of our decisions based on emotion and then rationalize it with logic, don't we? So if you can appeal to the emotional part of the brain, then you're going to get more buy-in. They're going to like you. You're going to be different from other people as well because you're connected on an emotional level. And then, of course, the last part is that rational side of it. So let me just give some different titles here. Again, I've done this on the Aristotle one. So credibility, establishing that on your website, in your communication. What awards have you got? What's your qualifications, testimonials, case studies? Offering a guarantee is going to give assurance that you are confident in what you deliver. Personality. So what's your mission? What's your vision? What's your aspirations? What are your values and your beliefs? Who do you love to help? Having empathy, being able to say, you know, we understand that the businesses that, you know, we work with and have the best effect with are having these types of problems. So show that you've got some empathy, you can relate to where people are. As I say, easy life. NVBL, by the way, Aha, am I? Hello, are you still there? Give us a note in the chat box. It just came up with a message to say I've just lost you. Oh, right, okay, you're all there then, so forgive me if I've just looked very dumbfounded. It just gave me a message to say I've been signed out, so I was a bit worried by that. Okay, let's carry on then. Fantastic. NVBL stands for non-verbal body language. So if you're presenting, how do you come across? Do you look nervous? Do you look confident? All of those types of things. And you know, visual attraction makes a big difference to that emotion side as well. So those are the things that come under that second element. And as I say, for me, that number 2 is a massive gap for accountants. And the final one, of course, is logic. So what are the outcomes? What are the outcomes that people can expect? If they work with you, what can they expect going forward? So how much tax they've saved is a great outcome, isn't it? So we save people this amount of tax. I'm not suggesting you shouldn't use that, but use that alongside those other things. What are the results? What are the solutions that you can offer to their problems that's going to give them an easier life? Yeah, both short-term and long-term benefits. So that for me is a much more complete picture as the type of things that you need to be. Again, I'm talking website here, but I want to emphasize the point that the website is just one example. This should be in all of your communication. The moment they walk into your office, what can you do to make sure you tick all of those 3 boxes, the way you communicate, even if it's a BNI event or any networking type of event. When we go through helping people to create an elevator pitch, we need all of those 3 aspects to come out in that first 10 to 15 seconds. They say an elevator pitch should be 30 seconds. These days, you've got like 7 to 10 seconds to get somebody inspired enough to say, tell me more about that. So we make sure all of those 3 things are used in that. Just want to give you a little example now. So I'm just going to just hide this and load up my Safari. And if I go on to that one, fresh clarity. This is Marie Donaldson. Some of you will know Marie. In fact, I don't even know if Marie's on here, so give us a yes if you are, Marie. I'm just demonstrating your website because I love it to bits. I think it's fantastic. So Marie completely rebranded her practice. And she's built it, everything I've just talked about, she's built into her website and everything she does. So there's empathy there. So she's not saying we do compliance, we do payroll, we do bookkeeping. She's asking questions. Are you looking for a 6 or 7 figure business? These are going to inspire people. That's really appealing to that monkey part of the brain as well. You know, do you want to get your life back? Those types of things. Why clarity? Start with why. So important. She's got a personality showing through here. I do inspire you encourage you to go and have a look at this site. I think it's fantastic. I think she's done a phenomenal job there in terms of rebranding from what she's got there. She's got her testimonials. Obviously, it will mention the services, but they're not the front page thing. It's why we do what we do, and looking to appeal to that monkey part of the brain for people. She's got blogs on there, etc. So let me just load back up my slides. So I just wanted to show that one as a little example there. For me, one of the biggest ways that you can differentiate yourself, and I know that I run through this a lot, but for me it's so important. So those of you who've seen my webinars before, I run through this scenario lots and lots. It's such an important aspect of differentiating yourself that's going to enable you to attract the right clients, deter the wrong ones, attract the right team members and deter the wrong ones as well. One of the things that makes you unique is your values and your beliefs. Values are pretty much set in stone between the ages of 5 and 7. Our beliefs are subject to change with evidence. For example, you know, people used to believe the earth was flat. Evidence proves that that was wrong, so we changed that belief. The people whose values and beliefs are a near perfect match to yours tend to become your loved ones, your closest friends. The people whose values and beliefs are just a close match, a near match. They may be mates at the pub, people you might meet at the gym. You might have a nice chat with them, but you wouldn't necessarily invite them back for dinner, for example. But then you've got some people that no matter how hard you try, you just cannot connect with them. They may not be bad people, but you just can't connect. Now, that's because they don't share your values and beliefs. They see the world very differently. They have a very different opinion about how certain things should be in the world. And so you'll clash. Why this is important is on two aspects. One, the team of people. Now, I know this is about positioning your practice for clients, but actually the way that you position yourself is going to attract or detract the right type of people that you want to associate yourself with internally as well. The people, the team members that you have around you, the ones whose values most closely match yours, will shed blood, sweat and tears for you because they get what you're about. They're incredibly loyal, they go the extra mile. The people whose values are a near match to yours, they're good workers, they won't necessarily go the extra mile for you. And then the people whose values and beliefs are opposed to yours, we call them BMWs. These are bitches, moaners and whingers. They're terrorists because they're usually slagging everything off, criticizing it. Why have we got to do it like this? What on earth are we doing now? They've been on yet another course and they're wanting to do this differently. And what they're doing is bringing the general morale down of the team by doing all of that, being negative all of the time. They may not be bad people, but they just see things in a very different way. The big challenge with that is that you, the practice owner, spend most of your time trying to get those BMWs on board, trying to overcome the challenge that they've got, trying to get them to buy into your way of thinking, which chances are you've got no hope of doing, but at the expense of actually neglecting the people who are most loyal to you, the really great workers. And what they tend to do then is think, do you know what, I'm going to go elsewhere where I'm going to be better appreciated. It's not necessarily about the money. You might be losing, if you are losing people, it might be because you're spending most of your time with those BMWs instead of giving your time, attention, appreciation and gratitude to those most closely to you. Quite often we just let sleeping dogs lie. They're doing a great job. I'll not interfere with them. Whereas actually we should be showing our appreciation more to them. On the other side of that scale then is clients, and this is where this is incredibly pertinent as well. The clients whose values and beliefs most closely match yours, we call them A clients because they are your advocates. They get what you're about. If you make a mistake with them, they'll be forgiving. Okay, they will be getting you the best referrals that they can possibly get. They're your advocates. People on the other end of that scale, they're your D clients. They're also BMWs, bitches, moaners and whingers. Nothing will ever be good enough. Nothing will ever be fast enough, and certainly nothing will ever be cheap enough with those people. And again, you can often be guilty of spending a lot of your time trying to deal with their complaints, overcome their challenges, again, effectively wasting time with them at the expense of maybe some of your best clients. So an example here is that a couple of our lots of our members, these are a couple of example websites where they've got their values on their website so that people can see those and hopefully be inspired by them. Beyond the numbers, I've just become very much aware of the time here. I promised you, and now we're slightly running behind. So please put a message in the chat box if you are okay to stay online for maybe 10 minutes or so after 1 o'clock. I just wanted to show you this website as well. This is Val Wishart. She's based in Edinburgh. She went and that's great, thank you. She went and created her values. She grabbed a camera. She recorded, just the back of an iPhone, really, camera, and she recorded her values and she put them into the About Us section of her website. So there's a nice little video introducing the practice here. You go into there, and I'm not going to play this now, but the first thing you're presented with is another video that you can watch. Val is just talking to the camera, sharing with her audience her values. Now, Val told me that the Chamber of Commerce came across this video and they were so inspired by that they shared that with all of the businesses that they work with. So imagine that one video, the impact that had for Val, the Chamber of Commerce just sharing this. Okay, Andrew, so I apologise. I will try and up the pace a little bit anyway, just to get as much as I can in the next 9 minutes. Notice also on here, she's got the reassurance, some of that reassurance side of it. They do fixed fees, so you don't get surprise bills. She's mentioning all deadlines are met, or we'll give you £250. So she's got guarantees on there. All support's free, so lots of those assurances she's really tapping into. And there are lots of other great things on her website that she does as well. Again, not going to spend too much time on here. She talks through the numbers, which I'm going to mention very shortly as well. So again, we do compliance, we do bookkeeping, we do payroll. This is a packaged solution that she's talking about. So very different message, very different differentiation, if you like, from other accountants out there. Okay, our values, which I mentioned earlier, and let me just load that back up again. Our values, oh, for crying out loud. It's all going pear-shaped for me, isn't it? Just let me skip to the correct slide. It started from the beginning. Our values I mentioned earlier are own it. So this is, we want to work with people, both our customers and our team, that are going to really grab the bull by its horns and just deal with something, take action and deal with it. Inspiring wow, speed stuns, surprises create smiles, surpassing expectations is sensational service. We want our team to be fully engaged in really wowing our customers, and again, we want the people that we work with to really share that same value. Fun with a serious intent. We don't believe in heads down, you can't speak, you can't do this, you can't do that. We want it to be a nice balance between an environment of productivity and enjoyment. Make lives better. We subscribe to the global goals. We've aligned ourselves with making a difference around the world. But every little thing we do, we want to be making lives better. And as I mentioned earlier, the keep evolving aspect. These are all important values to us. So I just want to give you an example of just establishing your values and how they can attract the right people and detract the wrong people when they know about it. Okay, I don't know what's happening with my slides. It's not playing ball at the moment. Okay. Other ways of differentiating yourself, which are ways that we help people do, what you can do yourself is be the author of your own book. That's a huge differentiator. How many accountants in your area are authors of their own book? Use that as a huge differentiator. It's the most powerful business card you can ever pass somebody. Other things as well, we've just recruited somebody to really enhance the marketing behind this. This is the equivalent of the Michelin Guide for restaurants. This is the Business Owner's Guide to the UK's best accountancy practices. Accountants that meet a certain level of criteria can feature in this book, and we are getting that book out to business owners around the UK. But really, that's just a lead generation mechanism that we can start drip feeding the benefits of working with a really switched on, forward thinking accountant. Differentiate yourself by having much more professional looking collateral, brochures. Just one example there. So they're great ways of better positioning yourself. Better position yourself in meetings as well, just by asking thought-provoking questions, rather than just going through and making sure that the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. Have much more thought-provoking conversations and discussions with your clients. Is really going to differentiate you. It's going to leave them feeling fantastic, and they're going to be talking to other people about that experience. With AVM, we provide tools that will help do that. So, for example, the one on the screen at the moment is a benchmarking report that just allows barriers to be broken down. When people say, well, it's just the way it is in my type of industry, this benchmarking report shows them actually other people in their industry aren't having those challenges, whereas they are. So that's a great way of breaking through that. And we do provide a number of different tools that help with those conversations. The caveat there is we're not a software company. It's not about the tools, but they help. I've put stop screen share here, so just bear with me while I just do exactly that. What I just wanted to do at this point was just show you another great way of differentiating is the numbers folder. So Val Wishart's website talked about numbers, didn't it? And this is a great way of adding more value to clients, but differentiating yourselves as well. And I'm not going to go into too much detail now, but effectively, this is a packaged solution for business growth. And it really expands on what you your skills with numbers. So annual accounts make 1/9 of the whole package here. So you've got things like helping them, what are their goals and aspirations, and breaking that down into actions. Where are they now? Going through sensitivity analysis, lots of different services that you can add to your client base. The members who have added those types of services to their clients have increased their average fees, ranging from £800 average fee per client right through to, in one case, so this sounds like an exaggeration, but in one case, one accountant has made it a fixed fee that they do everything in that book for a fixed price of £25,000 per client, take it or leave it. So you just do the maths in your head. If you were to increase your average fee per client by £800, what impact would that have if you times £800 by your number of clients? What impact would that have to your business? So I mentioned earlier the challenges often faced by accountants going through all of those things. I think most of you, if not all of you, said yes, you can relate to those things. Let me just ask you a question. Most of you are experiencing those problems now. What would be your aspiration going forward? Let's say 3 years, 5 years. Would you be looking to build, say, £1 million practice working a 3-day week with 30% profits? Would you be interested in taking it even further, really scaling it up into a big, massive empire type building business, £5 million practice, 4-day a month, 30% plus profits? Would you be more interested in, I just want a better life here, I just want to choose my hours, I want a nice income, I want to feel much more fulfilled? Or are you happy as you are? Are you effectively living the dream as it is? And if that's the case, so from our point of view, we've got accountants that are on every single one of those levels. That's what they aspire to do. A, B, C, or D. Typed into the box which one most appeals to you right now. And we don't all want to build a big empire. So there's no shame in saying, yeah, it's C for me, or A sounds perfect for me. But right now, just type one of those letters into the chat box, A, B, C, or D. Yeah, C, feeling more fulfilled. £5 million practice, 3 days. That's actually 3 days a month, but you've tweaked it to 3 days a week. That's fair enough. So I've got some A's and B's. I can't help but notice not everybody is doing this. So you're looking at A, Ali. C. So yeah, I just want everybody out there that said that they're prepared to take action from this, just to give me a flavour for where they're at. So far, I haven't seen a single D. Now, we all agreed earlier, I think, that if you want to see a change in practice, you have to make the change. You have to be the change you want to see, didn't we? So I want to ask you a question now. First of all, I just want to find out, in terms of availability, are you interested in growing your practice? Well, for me, you've just said you want to aspire to those things. I'd like you just to check your diary. I'm not asking you to commit to anything right now, but check your diary. Are you free on either of those dates? And just type in August free or October free or not free if it's neither. Just type that into the chat box right now. October for you, Roger? You're already booked in October, fair enough. Okay, August, October, August. What are the dates? If you can't see them on screen, I'm not sure. So 2nd of August or the 2nd to the 4th of October are the dates. Kim, yeah, you're already an AVM member, that's fine. The reason I'm asking this is because we deliver in-depth training. Now, we've just introduced a 1-day version of our 3-day masterclass, and that really focuses on some of the quickest win elements that people might just want to hit the ground running with off the back of that. So this training. So most of you said October as being free. That's understandable because many of us, I'm sure, take a holiday in August. So, okay, that's fine. I mentioned earlier, didn't I, that we really want to work with people whose values are in line with ours. And really, I'd just like you to put a yes or a no in the box. Do you feel that you can connect with the values that I've got in here? Are you the type of person that is going to take action, own it, run with it? Do you want to deliver a great service to your customers and really inspire them? Do you have this kind of mindset that you want to, it needs to be fun in the office? You want to make lives better. You want to keep evolving yourself. So yeah, thanks, Gordon. Just give us a yes. If it's a no, I'm certainly not going to be offended, because this is about finding out who is right for us and who isn't. So lots of yeses coming from the chat box, and that's fantastic. So yeah, brilliant. Okay, so lots and lots of yeses appearing there. Some are saying all panelists, some are saying all panelists and attendees. That's perfectly fine. Yes, but I do realise the limitations. Going to have a chat with you on that one, Dawn, just to establish more, or just send us a message on that one. Okay, that's fantastic. So lots of yeses in there. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, those 2 dates, we've got one, an Improve Your Practice Day, and the other one is the 3-day masterclass. So I've got a good variety of people there that said you've got the October date free and you've got the August date free. This is potentially like I say, the potential outcome of those days, where you're going to go through and just look at, by implementing some of the ideas that we share during those days, and it wouldn't be all of them, because not all of them will appeal to you in your practice, that you could potentially come away from. Now, I mentioned to qualify, you've got to be in line with our values. Most of you, I think maybe all of you, because loads of yeses came up, feel that you are in line with our values. You've got to be prepared to take action, whether it's small steps or big steps. And it's different for everybody. Thanks, Peter. All the best. I appreciate. That's my fault for not staying within my 1 hour limit. You've got to be at partner level, because this is partner level training. And the reason it's partner level training is because we've had so many team members come along, or client managers come along to this fully enthusiastic, or want to make a change. To go back, the partners just say, no, I don't really understand what you're trying to achieve here. I don't buy into that. So if you want to go make a change to your practice, it has to be partner level. Independent, UK-based, not top 20. And if that's a yes for all of you, then stay behind at the end for 7 minutes and we'll go through some admin together. I want to know right now, though, is this for you or not? So I want to see you put in an I'm in for August. So before, I just asked you if you're free on there, or I'm in for October. And that's just giving me a flavour for who's going to commit themselves to one of those 2 days. So in the chat box right now, I'm in for August, I'm in for October. Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, that's cool. I'm just going to give you another minute because they're still scrolling up on my screen. So that's great. The August one has got a few limited places. Is it 1 day or more? So Ruth, the August one is 1 day. Okay, because the reason why we've introduced this 1 day is because some of the feedback we're getting is, I'd love to come along to the 3-day masterclass. I've heard so much about it, but 3 days out of the office right now, this is a bit of a catch-22, because ultimately these things are designed to help you free up more time so you can justify taking time out of your practice. So obviously it can be a challenge. Patrick McLaughlin has just typed in the box, highly recommended to transform your practice. Thank you very much for that, Patrick. Patrick has been on the masterclass before. And by the way, some of you listening might think, I've been on the masterclass before. If it's more than a year ago, I can assure you it has significantly changed, because we've been redeveloping the masterclass in its entirety quite a lot as well. So okay, that's fantastic. So lots of people are writing those dates in there. Okay, brilliant. Right then. Okay, so I said to you I would reveal 2 huge mistakes. And I'm actually really pleased that Rennie's on this, because Rennie is one of my stories that I'm going to share in a moment. 2 huge mistakes that accountants make that, for me, really undermines their value in terms of them positioning themselves. One is, they give out their mobile phone numbers. It's written on their website, it's written on their letterheads or their business cards. Now, mobile phone is convenient, isn't it? Because you've got that with you. But it does speak volumes for your size. Now, fair enough, you might want to portray that, actually, I'm not this big corporate thing. I am a small practice and you can get hold of me. The downside to that is you become a slave to your clients, because they are phoning you 24/7. They think they've got access to you anytime they like. So if you're going to have a mobile number, fair enough, my recommendation is make that a work number only and switch it off at 5 o'clock or 5:30 or whatever time you feel is appropriate, and make it go to an answer phone message, say, oh, standard operating hours or whatever it might be, or 9 to 5, 9 to 5:30. Because you need to set a framework around who you are and what your boundaries are as well. You know, we all appreciate boundaries, and we respect that. But having a mobile phone number, people think, well, I'll just phone it up. Maybe I'll leave a message, and then suddenly you answer. Oh, right, well, I didn't expect you to answer, but whilst I've got you at 7 p.m., I'll just have a conversation with you for an hour. I don't care what you were doing, maybe hide and seek with the kids. So that's one aspect that really, I think, undervalues you as an accountant. So Rennie Evans is on here. Now, Rennie, I know, has a virtual office setup, and that's going to be my next slide as well. But Rennie still has a proper landline number that goes to the virtual office's address that then gets forwarded onto his mobile. Now, I can't speak for Rennie, but maybe Rennie will put it in the chat box, but I suspect that that only happens within a certain time frame. People don't get to know that mobile number then. The other thing is, we're in a fantastic age now. We're surrounded by fantastic technology that enables us to be able to work from home if we want to. It enables us to do away with the big massive overhead of having an office if we want to. Some prefer an office, some are moving into maybe commercial estate type offices, but actually there are a growing number now that are just establishing a home office where it's a spare bedroom, or they're creating a shed at the bottom of the garden, whatever it might be. Now, again, there are two key things here. One is, they feel that because they don't have the huge overheads of an office, that they can be less expensive accountant. What you're actually portraying yourself to be is a cheap accountant, because you're undermining your experience, you're undermining the profession in general for being an accountant. Because to become an accountant, a proper accountant, you know, the qualified version, isn't an it's not a run in the park type thing, is it? It's a very difficult accomplishment. It's something you should be very proud of. And not only that, you've got lots of experience that you've built up along the way with all of these different people. You shouldn't be cost-based pricing, okay? So obviously one of the things that we talk about is value pricing. Never undermine what you've got. So yeah, Rennie, you've just confirmed that your office is 9 to 5:30. Some clients do have your mobile number. Well, that's fair enough. But my advice is, as I say, and I've made the mistake a few times myself, I've just for convenience called one of our members up, but I've not obscured the number, and then suddenly I get called on my mobile outside of those times. So we can all be guilty of it, but get that discipline of actually, what you've signed up for here is me 9 to 5 or whatever it might be. So they're my recommendation in that sense. Don't reduce your fees just because of that. And also, I would recommend doing what Rennie's done here. His office address is a building in the centre of Manchester. All post goes to that address, but it gets forwarded onto his own address. But ultimately, people can't come knocking on your door at 7 p.m. and say, I was just passing, so I've dropped my bags of receipts in, and whilst you've answered the call, let me just run a few things by you. That doesn't happen, okay? Whereas I know many accountants that do work from home and they get knocks on the door at stupid o'clock. I'm just dropping my receipts in. Can I just run a couple of questions by you? So that's a huge positioning thing. Does that make sense? Just give me a yes in the box. Do those things make sense to you? Yeah, okay, that's cool. Brilliant. Lots of yeses. That's fantastic stuff. Right then, okay. So I just want to move on to my next slide. So I want you to take away an action from here that you're going to look at those three aspects. Look at your website, see what the gaps are. Okay. Are you establishing enough credibility? If you're just saying accountant and business advisor, and when I challenge people, what you've got business advisor on there, what do you do? It's amazing how many people say, well, actually, it was just part of the template. So we don't deliver anything in that. Or maybe we'll give a bit of advice on standard going rates for different, like a receptionist role or something like that. For me, that might be business advice, but it's not business growth advice. So expand on what that is. What's your credibility in delivering that stuff? What's the emotional impact that you have with your clients? Why are you doing what you're doing? Okay, that's that. I also said there was another bonus as well. I invite you to, this is a diagnostic tool. Now, I've been gradually inviting a few people to complete this, and the feedback I've had has been phenomenal. This is a brand new diagnostic tool that I've recently created. And what it does, it asks you a series of questions about your practice right now, and then based on what you've answered, it will give you a comprehensive report. So it will give you the 7 principles. I've talked about the roadmap. So really it's asking questions around where you stand in those areas. It will share with you mistakes that are often made by most accountants. So you might read that and think, well, actually, I'm not alone then. Yes, I am making a mistake, but actually lots of others are as well. What are the consequences on that? You can probably relate to. It gives you 7 strategies. So depending on your answer, there are different strategies that will come in. So it is 7, but there may be different 7 every time, and recommended actions as well, depending on what they are. So it's a very comprehensive, dynamic report, and I highly recommend that you go through that exercise. Following this webinar, I will send out an email with the link to complete that. Very much recommend that you do that. As an extra bonus as well, if you complete that, and you want, and I'm not going to force this down anybody, but if you want to have a conversation about that and maybe a little bit more input on me on how you can make some of those things better, I'll be more than happy to do that. There's no cost, no obligation on that one whatsoever. More than happy, but for your own benefit, I recommend that you go through this because it just puts a line in the sand that says where you are right now. And of course, positioning is one of the items on there. Right then, so for those of you who didn't say I'm in, that's really the end of this session. For those of you who did say I'm in, I'm just going to go through some of the admin on what to do to actually get in right now, so that you can do that. So thank you very much for coming, everybody. I hope you've had lots of value from this session, and hopefully I've inspired you to take some action. Those of you who said I'm in, please stay on for a few more moments. Thanks, Kim. All the best. Thanks, Keith. Thank you, Peter. Thanks, Amar. Thanks, Ruth. So, yeah, I'm just going to say goodbye to those of you who are thanking me. So, yeah, very much. Nice, Tigger. Brilliant. Okay, so, yeah, very grateful for those of you. Right then, so I just wanted to load up my panelists. So I can see, obviously, there are, those of you who said I'm in are still here. Fantastic. I haven't accidentally lost you. Right, so what I would like for you to do, those of you who said I'm in for August, I'm going to put you in a link now that you can click on. I talked about taking action, that you can click on and you can go into and book right now. And the reason I'm asking you to do this is, again, it's a demonstration that you're going to take action. And also, if you hit any challenges, I'm here right now. So those of you who said you're in for that one day in August, click that link that I've just posted into the chat box. In fact, I'm going to post it again now so that you can see it. So let me just post that again. So that is for August. Now, if you press on that right now, let me know that you've pressed that. It'll take you to the site. You don't need to get your credit card out because it works on PayPal. It is a £97 show of commitment that you're going to attend that day, because we have limited seats for that day, and we want to make sure that the people who said they're going to attend do attend. Okay. So they're the ones for that one. In terms of the October masterclass, I'm also going to now post that one in to all attendees. So those of you who said I'm in for October, click on that link right now, and then we can get that one sorted as well. I've just clicked on the link. Thank you very much. Yep, that's okay. So lots of confirmations coming in now that you're clicking on those links. Over to ready now. So, okay, that's cool. I think... Okay, so again, let me know how you're progressing on that one, and let me know that that's gone through smoothly. Oh, you're talking to Andrew Miller. That's perfectly fine. Yes, Paul, your name rings a bell now. I think James recently mentioned you as well. So, no, you're good on that one. If you're talking to Andrew, that's fine, Paul. Dawn, August is out because, yeah, that's fair enough. Okay, look, Dawn, well, we can have a conversation. There is another masterclass happening next March. So if that is more appropriate for you, then maybe that makes more sense for you. I didn't put the March booking in here just because I think it's so far away. We're talking almost 9 months away, aren't we? So that can be a challenge. Rennie, which one did you go for? The October one or the August one? The August one should just say 1 day, so I will just double check that. But please be assured that the August one is 1 day, and it is in Manchester, which is right. Okay, Rennie. No, the August one is in Manchester. The masterclass is at our office. Did it say 3 days on that? Yeah. So the 1 day is. Yeah, just the 1 day as it says, but it is in Manchester. Oh, the October one, Rennie, is at our office. Ruth, we've just done a 1 day event in London. We are about to do some more. So if London works best for you, I can certainly make sure I get in touch with you personally as soon as we release the next London day. What we did is we trialed the one in London first as a 1 day event. The feedback was phenomenal. So we said, yes, we will do more. So we've got the 2nd of August. They were both trials effectively to start with. So we only did those 2 dates. We are going to do many more of these because actually the feedback was really positive from the people who attended that 1 day. As you can imagine, we've for many years run just a 3 day event. We have so much stuff that we want to impart. We felt that it would be difficult to cram that into a day, but actually just taking the quickest win elements and just sharing some of the possibilities for people worked really well in 1 day. So okay, that's 2 of you said London would work better for you. We can make that happen as well. Okay, so please let me know, those of you who have gone through that process now and are booked. If you've got any challenges, let me know in that box as well. And one thing I didn't ask, actually, because I moved my slide down further, are there any questions from today? So there's only a limited few of you left compared to the amount that were here to start with. But do you have any questions about any of the stuff I've covered? And if not, then that's fair enough. Am I still doing a screen share? I'm not entirely sure now. Okay, I'm not doing screen share, that's fine. I wasn't sure. Right, that's brilliant. Okay, booked in. Spot on. Okay, so some confirmations coming through there. That's great. Right, well, thank you very much, everybody. If you have had any challenges, I will just pop in my email address into the chat box. So if you've got anything that you just want to run by me independently, you are more than welcome to do that. Ping me an email on that and I will get back to you straight away. Otherwise, I wish you a fantastic afternoon and I look forward to seeing some of you very soon. All the best and bye-bye.